And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. Inside Sports, Fantasy Football. We just dropped another episode in time for your last second fantasy football drafts because the NFL season starts tomorrow, Thursday, right there for you. So go ahead and check out our last minute advice, plus also as well some picks for week one, right there for you at Inside Sports Fantasy Football. I will also go ahead and give a big shout out to our members. Absolutely great to have them all a part of what we're doing, including Xbox, of course, Down Under, Bloodhound, Richard Villarreal, if I can say that correctly. Sorry, Richard, my bad. Sports Baby. Got to roll my R's better than that. But big shout out to all those great members. Truly cannot thank you enough. And if you want to be a member, please go ahead. For $2.99 a month, you get to go ahead and get a whole bunch of badges, emojis, and big shout outs and call outs from me here at the Lakers Fast Break. Plus also our good friends John Costa, Clutch Talk on Lakers Corner. I did speak to him over the course of the past couple of days. He is going to come back strong on these channels, so go ahead and look out for him in the not too distant future. Also as well, the Lakerholics crew. I know Laker Tom is having issues with the website, Lakerholics.com, but hopefully he's got that alleviated. And also as well, hopefully he and the gang will stop by as it gets closer to training camp in early October. So hopefully he and the Lakerholics crew will come on by right here for this weekend. Also as well, of course, our good friends Empire Jeff TV, Lakers in 5. Of course, John McCallion channel and Daniel Barry Sports Highlights. Yo! Also Stone Hansen at report_court. All of our good friends, please follow and support all of them. Legend 350, Alfred Esmond, all these great folks, please support everything that they do. And speaking of supporting everything that they do, why not try supporting us with a like and subscribe? Subscribe today to get us back at 1,800 and also get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Lakers Fast Break podcast. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been interesting the past couple of days listening to all the scuttlebutt because the projections are starting to come through, not only with the Lakers in the Western Conference, but also the Pacific Division as a whole. I've heard it called the land of mediocrity. I can say it's not too far off. Could the Lakers find themselves at the top of the Pacific Division when all is said and done? And will it mean anything? Probably not to me in my eyes, but could it mean a decent position playoff-wise? Or are the teams outside of the Pacific Division in the Western Conference that much better? So we'll talk about that today. Plus, I wanted to go ahead and make mention that the Lakers have signed not one but two players to Exhibit 10 contracts. These are not guaranteed, but they are coming to training camp with a chance to make the roster, which again will be hard because then the salary cap issues, you're going to have to find a way to get rid of somebody if you think one of these two guys will actually be good enough for the roster. One is Vincent Valerio Bodon, a 6'9" wing who did play during the summer, but didn't do that great. About 5 points a game average during the summer league. And the one people are more interested in, Jordan Goodwin, who played okay with Memphis when he was on their roster in the final games of this past season. But when he had his opportunity in Phoenix to really be that guy for the Phoenix Suns, unfortunately, it didn't work out for him there. So he has become a journeyman. So we'll see if he can provide anything. But here today to discuss the Lakers in the Pacific Division. Good man indeed. He is the mastermind behind Simblades, Simblades with a Y.com, and also as well, Ox1947 at LakersBall.com. It is Joe Soro, and Joe had to mute you there while you were clicking and typing and stuff for our chat, and truly appreciate it. I do know That and he does know, by the way, Darren, that he owes you a drink. Joe, great to have you here as always. The Pacific Division, I think, is up for grabs. I think that all the teams, even if the everything goes right, if everything goes right for the Clippers, they may be in the mix. But is it really worth shouting about that the Pacific Division is a team filled with mediocre teams, Joe?
No,
What's up?
no. There's you have the Kings, who are likely to be the front runners of that division, and then you have Phoenix, who still has Durant and Booker. I'm not going to put Beal in there because he's useless. I don't know. I feel like the Warriors improved in the offseason. I have to see what happens in the first few weeks there before I kind of make an assessment on them. And then you have the Lakers, and then the Clippers obviously digressed. I just don't know by how much. I'm not seeing the Lakers as a force in the Pacific. The Pacific's been pretty bad, actually. They actually made the playoffs as a last place team in the division a couple years ago, which was just comical when I saw that at the end of the year. I couldn't believe it. I had never seen anything like that. Imagine a team last in the division and making it to the Western Conference Finals. The NBA's definitely gotten a little bit more even at this point, and I think that's what the NBA is trying to create in general. If I had to pick who would win the division, though, I would say probably Sacramento.
I'm not entirely sold on that. The reason why I say that is because they've gone, as I said before in our preview, as far as what in the off season with Alfred and also as well Legend 350. Shout out to those two guys out there. I wanted to mention that they're going all in on the offensive side of the ball. And whether or not they can play just enough defense like Indiana did to actually work out to a pretty good season remains to be seen. Joe, you talked about the rebounding issues that the Lakers have that they did not address. Well, with the DeMar DeRozan deal, Sacramento really didn't address their issues on the defensive end as far as with, intimidation, as far as being able to block shots, being able to rebound if your name is not Sabonis, because that's what I have a concern with Sacramento. They will have to literally outscore everybody in order to win that division, in my opinion, Joe.
Well, they've been doing that the last couple of years.
But even more so now, I believe.
I'd say they at least improved talent-wise. DeRozan isn't what he was 5, 6, 10 years ago, but he's perfect for that team, and he'll do well in Sacramento. And the Phoenix thing is the intriguing one. Seeing how Durant played during the Olympics made me think a certain way. And maybe it's just because Durant this is just kind of what he does. He just Achilles tearing, calf being messed. It doesn't matter what it is. It just seems like this guy doesn't go away. He just keeps playing. And maybe a year under his belt might be good with this particular team, and they might be a contender there. But whether they're a title contender or not, these guys are all contenders for playoff spots. And although Gigi Jackson I guess was just told that he's not going to be returning till December. Now that puts Memphis, which I kind of was expecting this because it just seems like Memphis just keeps dealing with injuries that derail anything that they try to do. I was saying in my head, if Memphis is healthy, they're going to be competing for a playoff spot as well. But if they keep getting these injuries, then maybe they might end up falling back again. Although I did predict last year that they weren't going to make the playoffs, and there were some people looking at me like I was on drugs. Look, we pay attention to what's going on in and around even other teams, and there's a culture that builds. and sometimes the culture is not being healthy. John Morant being what he has been the last couple of years hasn't helped either. That takes away a lot of focus. It's already very hard to win in the NBA when you're focused, let alone when you've got a lot of distractions with injuries, or if your top player isn't focused on playing basketball. And I at this point, we've gone over the Lakers situation. If the Lakers are going to have a chance at competing in the division, looking at that team, looking at those teams in the division, we're looking at Phoenix, Sacramento, Golden State, to name a few. Where what does it really mean? What does division really mean in the NBA these days? Doesn't really mean much. And I think at this point they should probably just scrap the divisions and just have one big conference. What do you think, Gerald?
I think so too. I just think it's antiquated. I'm tired of these antiquated things that, like for instance, blackouts. Why do we still have blackouts in this day and age in TV? People go to the game. People are going to go to the game. If they're not, they're going to stay at home and watch it. It just same thing with the divisions, like you're talking about. It's antiquated. It's from a era gone by, and now that you made it virtually irrelevant to win the division, and rightly so, a winner of a division, Joe, should not get an automatic bid to the playoffs. It should not happen. Like, we talk about in the NFL, we've seen teams like back when it was 16 games, 7-9, be getting a home game in the playoffs. And I'm asking myself, why in the heck does this happen? This is just awful. Or we see like under 500 bowl teams going to a bowl game because they couldn't get anybody else. It's ridiculous, Joe. We're rewarding mediocrity. And I agree with you 100% that the concept of divisions should go the way of the dodo.
All three are different scenarios, and I'll explain. Number one, I'll go to your college situation. The only reason why they have college bowl games is to make money.
That's all. Yeah, and I get that.
And
if it's the NCAA is just all about money.
Yeah, and the NCAA, although there's a lot of fundamental things that I agree with in how to police the game, their power hungry, totalitarian type attitude is what brought them to this current setup now with the NIL and all that. It's always the extreme with a lot of these people because they get power hungry, they get money hungry, and they want to control it, and they want to be able to force anything and everything their way. And that's kind of the extreme, using the college bowl situation. And then I'm not a fan of the 12-game or 12-team playoff either. I think I don't think. That's too many. You're asking college kids that are trying to do their finals, that are working in and around Christmas. It's too many games. It's starting to turn into the NFL. And that's also something that greed is creating. 12 games should be a cap for these teams. And I always like the fact that the regular season mattered in college football. And right now, it doesn't. Now it doesn't matter. Now FSU would have been out by now, going 0-2. Now, if they run the table the rest of the way, they're going to be able to get in and, whatever, right? And a lot of people like that too. Oh, hey, Joe, we want to give him a chance. I actually like perfection. I like greatness. And moving that to the NBA setup, there used to be a time where the divisions mattered. And they even fixed one of the bigger problems with the division. And then they just kept making it worse and worse and worse. So what I mean by that is there was a time where the division winner would get home court, and then the team that had the better record in the other division would then have to, even if they had a better record, they'd have to go on the road, and they didn't like that. But then in the first round, they solved it. In the first round, they said, no, whoever has the better record, we're going to have that team hold home court. And I thought, okay, that's kind of a nice balance. I'll go with that. Because it makes sense. Now, in basketball, because teams play each other pretty much the same, the divisions really didn't matter. At least not all the way. Now it's really gone. Like now it doesn't matter at all. But there was a time where that mattered. There was a division, there was divisional rivalries that you wanted to watch, that you knew that teams would play a little harder against Sacramento, harder against the Suns, the Clippers. And then that has a meaning, much like the NFL. The NFL, a 7-9 team in, let's say, the AFC North, for example. The AFC North is the most competitive division of the last 25 years. And I don't think anyone would deny that. If you added up all the time that there's been 4 divisions in each conference, I think it's since 1999, I believe, 2000. You have the AFC North that's been the most competitive, and what's crazy about that is you've had the Cleveland Browns in there, which have been one of the more pathetic teams in the league. Imagine if you had switched the Cleveland Browns for, I don't know, the Green Bay Packers, right? Like it would have been not even a question at that point. And in football, it does matter because they do play more games against the division. So therefore, a 7-9 team that makes it in the playoffs in a tough division has a little merit over the team that's, let's say, 9-7 or 10 well, back then it was 9-7 and 10-6, and you have maybe an easier schedule, an easier division. And those are all different examples. They all have their own different cultures and how things work. Now, I thought of a solution for these crybaby pussies about how rigorous the schedule is. Mind you, these are assholes that are making more money than ever before, and they're complaining about more activity. The same people that are getting state-of-the-art nutrition, state-of-the-art planes, state-of-the-art workout equipment. Everything is state-of-the-art. Everything is top-notch level, and yet they're still complaining that the work is too hard. So my solution to that was regionalize the NBA, make the division matter again by playing more division games than interconference games and East Coast or West Coast games, depending on who you're talking about. And that would solve a lot of your problems, because now you're not flying to Chicago from LA, flying to Detroit, flying to these places twice during a road trip during a year. Maybe you're doing it once. It's a lot of flying, right? Guys from the West Coast, guys from the East Coast, they're flying across the country and playing teams. Whereas, let's say those that are in the Midwest, maybe they're not flying as much because they're in the middle. But there's not a lot of teams in the middle either. In the middle of America, people don't know this, but 80% of the population is on the East Coast. And really, California holds a lot of the population on the west side, and then that's really it. Most of the people don't live on this side of the country. So looking at the divisions and making them matter, and then figuring out what that means, it's not something I think about at this point. But if I had to choose a division winner, I'd go with Sacramento.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro along with me, Jared Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching, listening. Truly appreciated. I know that Xbox had a question for you in regards to something that you said in regards to the fact that people are complaining about how it is now as opposed to back then. Did you get a wind of Anthony Edwards' comments about the All-Stars from the past, particularly the 1990s, in regards to some detrimental comments, and a lot of feedback from current and former players are coming his way?
Can't complain too much because our stupid head coach did the same thing. And this is what happens when someone comments about something stupid that we'll never know. We can't go back in time and really know. It's a comment that has no basis, and then there's no solution either. That's why it's easy to make that comment. It's easy to make that comment because he doesn't have to suffer the consequences of it. Michael Jordan can't play against Anthony Edwards right now. David Robinson can't play against Anthony Edwards right now. Karl Malone can't. None of these guys can play against these guys right now. So how are we ever going to know? We never will know. So that's why it's easy for him to make that comment. And most of the people that are making comments about particular eras are usually people that weren't born in the 70s. You had to have been born in the 70s to really know. Let's just stick to the 90s and beyond. Forget about the 80s for right now. If you weren't born in the 70s and you're discussing what era is better, you are a fool and you should shut up. Because I'm not talking about the 70s or the 60s or the 50s and the 40s. And I'm not also going to downgrade those guys either. I don't know how good they were. We do know that accommodations were different. We do know that they played 3 games in a row, 4 games in 5 nights, 5 games in 6 nights sometimes. But there's always an excuse, right? Because it fits that person's narrative. It gives an excuse. That's why the shitheads who comment about anything these days, they just want to throw an asterisk on it. And they'll say stupid comments. Like I always have to go back to 2016. It always cracks me up how LeBron James has every single player on both teams in terms of the main 5 statistics. And yet Kyrie Irving hits the last shot to win that series. And all of a sudden LeBron is supposed to submit that he won because of Kyrie Irving. If you watch the 2000, and I'm using that one as an example because I know some of these snot-nosed dumb shits have watched that one. I'm not just picking that because it's LeBron. I'm picking that one because it's the most popular finals of the last decade. And a lot of these schmucks were around for it, okay? So let's look at that for a second. And I want you to really, really, really focus on what I'm saying. There are morons that said that LeBron doesn't win that series without Kyrie Irving. No shit. No one wins alone. No one. And the reason why the Cavaliers won that series is because of LeBron James, if you want to pick one. Why? Look at what he did statistically and in every big moment. But people just want to dig at things that they don't like, right? I'm not a big fan of LeBron James. You all know that. Personality-wise, I am on the dark side of his white moon. Beyond different. We are different people. I don't particularly like how he operates personally. But you cannot deny greatness. You cannot deny what is. And that is something that doesn't get talked about enough. And then when you see a professional athlete like Anthony Edwards, who's got world-class athleticism, world-class talent, say something so stupid, it just adds to the fact that these guys are hard to cheer for, and it makes you want to turn off the TV. And what someone should have said to Ann is, you need to focus on winning the series you're supposed to win. Because I keep hearing about, and I'm not picking on just him, I'm picking on everybody. I keep hearing about how Ant-Man is it, and he's this guy. Guys, I haven't seen shit from Ant-Man that describes him as being that guy. He's immensely talented. But he's not that guy. And I don't know if he ever will be. Sorry, folks. I don't see it. I just don't see it. And it's just not because he's not winning at all. I've seen him in times in the game. You know, Dirk Nowitzki, that poor guy, man. That guy played his heart out. He killed himself for years. He won one title, but when you watch him play, you knew that Dirk was killing himself to play unbelievable basketball. You know, this doesn't get talked about a lot. You know how we have a lot of good things to say about that 2014 Spurs team. It's the best fundamentally sound team I've ever seen in my 33 years watching basketball. And I'm not the only one that knows this. That was the most fundamentally sound basketball team I had seen. Not the best team. They wouldn't have beaten the 2001 Lakers or the 96 Bulls, no doubt. But fundamentally, basketball, when you factor in the way they played, it was magical. It was everything you wanted to see when you're watching basketball. You know who put those guys to the ringer in the end? At the one team that almost got them that year, and that was the Dallas Mavericks. With the last leg left of Dirk Nowitzki. He was that close to probably winning one more that year. Although I don't know. I think LeBron would have beat Dallas that year, but that's a different story for a different time. And we have to understand the difference, guys, between choking, blowhards, overrated, overhyped. You know, all these things have different categories. It's not all bunched into one. It's not just because you lose doesn't mean you're a choker. But just because you win doesn't mean you're the best ever. Especially if you're a guy that goes to the Western Conference Finals and gets his ass whooped by an overweight Luka Doncic, and yet you're sitting there telling us, oh, we would have beaten the crap out of a 250-pound chiseled maniac like a Karl Malone or Superman and Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan would have put Anthony Edwards in his pocket and taken him for a ride, and he would have never dropped.
It is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. Joe Soro, along with me, Joe Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching, listening. So Joe has Sacramento, as of this point, unless things change, probably leading what I think we both believe is a mediocre at best division in the Pacific Division. But the Lakers, if something goes awry with Sacramento, something goes awry with Phoenix, I've heard and in the past couple of days, seen and heard predictions that has the Lakers anywhere from second to fifth. So you never know, Joe. A Pacific Division win doesn't mean much. Not like I'm going to put a banner up over it, but that could lead to, especially if a couple of these teams have hard times, maybe a 47, 48 win team, maybe.
Well,
I mean, if the Clippers are really bad,
let me,
there's some easy wins there.
Let me put down some info here. As much as I hate, by the way, I want to thank DirecTV for holding their ground against Disney. Disney, you can suck a giant rotten egg. I hope DirecTV squeezes them. Matter of fact, I'm going to call DirecTV tomorrow and thank them for squeezing ESPN. See, I have other ways to watch ESPN, so I don't give a shit. But I do still have DirecTV out of respect, out of loyalty to them giving me some of the best service I've ever had in TV, if not the best. Yes, folks, I will pay money for things that I don't necessarily need because that's what you're supposed to do. You give back to those who took care of you, even if it's a few bucks. So, again, I want to thank DirecTV. However, ESPN does have a list, and again, folks, a broken clock is right twice a day. So I'm gonna stay on that little cliche. So their ESPN's Western Conference standings predictions right now say that the Thunder are going to be the top seed next year, just like they were this year. It's going to be, and they'd be at 57-25. Timberwolves at 2, Mavericks at 3, Nuggets at 4. I'm not arguing against any of those 4. I could totally see a top 4 right there. Suns at 5, I think is too much. Kings at 6, sure. Pelicans, I'd say Suns would probably more drop off kind of towards the 8, 9 area. I'd move the Kings or the Pelicans up to 5 and 6, and of course that's factoring in that Zion is healthy, and that can very quickly drop quick, just not having that. And then they have the Warriors at 8, Grizzlies at 9, and then the Rockets at 10, and then they have the Lakers at 11 at 44 and 38, which would mean they'd be out of the playoffs. I can honestly say, as of right now, based off of what we've seen, that might be pretty accurate.
Not saying differently either. I'm just trying to hold out some of that hope for people out there that think the things can go right for the Lakers. Although, again, if you're sound reasoning, if you understand the game like we do, what we see right now is not all that promising, Joe.
I want legitimate explanations on why the Lakers are going to win more than 44 games next year. I really, really want to know. There's no center on this team, and there's no rebounding that was enhanced.
I think Seven is wondering why the Warriors are picked over the Lakers, and I could say that, Clay, it all depends on how you value Clay, Seven. Do you see him as a washed-up guy coming off of 2 injuries that can no longer defend on the perimeter? If that's the case, you're banking on DeAnthony Melton, Buddy Hield, the signings there, some good veteran signings that, if they are healthy throughout an entire season, could help Golden State Warriors provide a decent rotation and a competitive rotation. With the Rockets, again, they have more talent than the Warriors or the Lakers, but with them, is it about their youth finally coming together and do all those pieces we talked about as far as how many great wing players or promising wing players that they have? Do those pieces fit correctly with Sengun, with Van Vliet? Again, Shepherd, I thought was amazing in the summer league. So we'll see what happens, Joe. I mean, is Green, you're going to stay your, shooting guard, or do you going to move him somewhere else? Yeah, some questions in Rockets, but if it all fits together based off talent, that talent might come through to fruition, Joe. So that's why I think people have, or Vegas might have them predicted above the Lakers at this point.
Well, I think they improved because they got Buddy Hield, who's a better shooter than Clay. Mm-hmm. If you leave Buddy Hield open like you left Clay this last year, you're likely going to be hitting those shots versus missing them.
If Milton is healthy, because he had some serious back issues, if he is healthy, mm-hmm. like with JHS, he had back issues as well. But if DeAnthony Melton is healthy, that could be a steal of a pickup, Joe.
Kyle Anderson will give him that slow-mo veteran fundamental type stuff.
Good point.
You have Kayvon Looney, who's going to be going into a contract year. He's going to be playing his butt off. And then I can never say
Podziemski.
Podziemski is likely going to improve from how he was last year.
Oh, you mean Rodell's favorite?
Yes, and to me, I see an improvement from what they had last year. They're a better team with this roster. Sacramento added a very good player to their team. Phoenix didn't really do much because they can't. I also think the Warriors could very likely make a in-season trade that could better their team. I would watch out for that because they have Andrew Wiggins. I don't know if they trade Draymond Green, but they have some money there where they could possibly move that and make a run. So I'd watch out for that.
Xbox is asking about what we are thinking about a healthy Suns team. Again, they were able to go ahead and pick up pretty good player on as far as point guard position. Obviously better than how Goodwin worked out for them. Your thoughts on what the Suns are doing? They are very, very limited because they're well over the cap, but your thoughts on what the Suns are capable of with a healthy Kevin Durant and Devin Booker?
I don't trust. I just don't. Healthy and the Phoenix Suns doesn't make any sense as long as Bradley Beal's on that team. It's going to be Durant and Booker. They're going to have to carry that team with very minimal talent. They're very similar to the Lakers in a lot of ways. They really don't have anybody beyond the two. And then a few players that, if they do what they're supposed to do, they can maybe make a dent. I'd say they're probably identical right now.
Okay. It is close in my opinion as well. Again, we'll have to see how that works out. Tyus Jones, could he be the answer? I mean, he signed on I think he signed on a minimum, but he comes to the Suns, could solidify at something for their rotation, which is, again, a team that has suffered a lot of turnovers. Tyus Jones specializes in turnover ratios, so it might work out for them. We'll see. We'll see, my friend. But the other team in the division that we didn't talk about is the Clippers, and that team, I don't know how you're going to look at it, anything as far as a negative, going into a new arena, losing Paul George. They made some nominal moves around the fringes. The Derrick Jones Jr. signing, we'll see if he is the same player he was with Dallas, or now that he's got money back in his account, if he's going to be able to still stay at that level. We'll see how that happens. But how do you see the Clippers this season? How bad or how much of a fall do you see for the Clippers this season?
I see a drastic drop. They might come out the gate a little bit motivated, but like they always do, just like James Harden does, just like Kawhi Leonard after he got hurt, they're just not gonna last. They don't have enough. And Paul George knew that. He knew the move to Philly was a very, very smart move on his part, not only money wise, but understanding that Embiid probably has 2 more years left to have a shot at winning a title, and putting Paul George on that team with Maxey, I think that was the perfect player to put on that team. If Embiid can stay healthy throughout the whole year, I definitely see them. I definitely see him going to the Eastern Conference Finals at least this next year.
Thought it was so funny, Joe. Today's signing we talked about, as far as for the Lakers are concerned, Exhibit 10. Guess who else was out there looking to try and get a spot on a roster? None other than THT, as he did sign today with the Bulls. I'm not sure if it was guaranteed or not. I have to look that up. But funny how times have changed and how Alex Caruso could be or end up being a key part of the Oklahoma City surge, and THT might not even make an NBA roster.
Yeah. THT will always be tied to Caruso in that the Lakers chose him over Caruso, and it ended up being one of the biggest mistakes, one of the worst mistakes. I mean, you look at the massive deficiencies with this team.
I don't put it above Westbrook, but I put it damn close.
There's so many. There's been so many the last 5 years. The Zubac trade, the Westbrook trade, the releasing or the not caring for Caruso, the trading of KCP. It's been bad. I mean, these guys.
It's partially guaranteed, by the way, everyone out there.
It's been bad. It's been so bad, and it's not an accident that the team is where it is because of these absolutely terrible transactions. And I don't know of any good transactions they've had in that time. Any things that really made a difference.
I don't know. I think the Jordan Goodwin signing, I think that does speak a little bit about their confidence in Gabe Vincent going forward. But I really would have, if you're going to take a flyer on somebody with those Exhibit 10s, I would have reached out to maybe someone like Cedi Osman, or I know he just got waived too, but Nasir Little, who's still young, could still develop. I know he's a terrible shooter, but he's got size and athleticism. Those are the players I want to take a flyer on outside of Jordan Goodwin, who crashed and failed miserably in Phoenix. But then again, these are not guaranteed deals, and most likely they won't even make the roster, Joe.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's just not very many options for the Lakers right now.
No, there's no options because the system isn't allowing it either. It's so bad. I don't even know what. I just don't know what to do. What can you do? What can you do when you can't do anything? What enhancements can this team make? And they can't. They can't. They put themselves even in a situation where they can't. Even if they wanted to, they can't. There's too many people on the roster. And the only way they can get rid of some of these guys is if they attach a draft picks, which they don't have.
They can only give away 2 at the maximum of 2.
The NBA has put the clamps on any creativity in the NBA. You have to go with. They have socialized the NBA so bad that the only way that it's not completely to that degree is, we do give out all these millions and millions of dollars and no one's going to complain at that, right? They don't care. They're getting their money. But the teams are going to be mediocre. You're going to have the top one, you have 10 teams now, quote unquote, making the play-in and the playoffs. And they're all going to be these mediocre 44 and 39 teams, 44 and 38, whatever. And that's what you're going to start seeing now. You're going to start all these things that we were complaining at the beginning of the show where how are these 500 teams going to benefit? That's what you're going to start seeing. You're going to start seeing 44 to 49 win teams be from seed 1 to seed 8 or seed 9 or seed 10.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching this thing. Become a member today for just $2.99. Get some badges, emojis with us on it. There you go. A lot of cool stuff there for you. Plus, also you get big shout outs from us each and every episode right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast for only $2.99 a month. And so we build up our membership queue. YouTube is liking that from what I hear. Say thank you, Gerald, for doing that. Truly appreciate it, but we truly appreciate you. And Joe did not forget the drink he promised Darren, I believe, before the end of the show. So I will say this, Joe. I mean, Golden State, the only reason why I think that people are picking him above the Lakers because they have a deeper roster of players who can play at the NBA level than what the Lakers have. Lakers have so many question marks after player number 5, including Dalton Knecht, including Max Christie, including Hayes and Wood, and just the rest of the roster after player number 5. So with that, Joe, again, it doesn't surprise you and I that Vegas and a lot of other betting industries out there are picking the Lakers not to even make the playoffs, but all the Pacific Division teams to not really compete very highly in the Western Conference.
I don't know why that would be the case. Looking at some of the predictions, you have 1, you have 2, you have 3. You have 3 of the teams in the Pacific that are going to be in the top 8. Mm-hmm. It's, I guess, pretty good.
I mean, when you talked about possibly the leading Pacific Division team, maybe being 6th, that's a concern, Joe. I mean, for the most part, the Pacific teams teams may beat themselves up and just to get 44, 45, 46 wins.
I'm going to be paying attention to that. I haven't really figured out where my head is on that yet.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. I haven't thought about it enough.
You still got time.
But it doesn't matter. The divisions just don't matter. It's getting worse and worse. It just doesn't matter. If it would matter if they played their division rivals more during the year. I'm surprised no one has ever brought that up. There was a time where they played teams 6 times during the year, didn't they? In the 80s?
Yes.
Why did they stop that?
I'm assuming for travels, logistic, cost reasons,
When
and
you look at
maybe the expansion of the league as a whole.
But I would think it'd be easier. Think about it for a second. Imagine if a team, because the divisions are even, there are 5 teams in each division. There are 3 divisions in each conference. Don't you think adding 2 more games it'd be 8 more games for each team where they don't have to travel far? They would be at home for 4, and then they would be, let's say, if the Lakers, for example, they'd go across the freeway to play the Clippers now. It's an hour flight to Phoenix. It's an hour flight to Sacramento. It's an hour flight to San Francisco. That's that's 8 games. You're talking 10% of your games where you're not having to really travel far. That's a lot of games. That is almost 4 weeks worth of traveling. That's 4 weeks, almost 4. It's 3.5 weeks of play. Let's just say 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? 3 weeks where you're not traveling to Dallas, especially in the West, because you have so many teams that are actually in the East Coast. New Orleans, you have Memphis. And that's not anybody's fault. That was, well, I should say that the New Orleans thing is definitely the NBA's fault. I don't know what the hell they were thinking putting a team in New Orleans. And Memphis should have a team, but there should have been something where they ended up going to the East Coast. But, they were Vancouver before then, so I can't really blame them for that one. But there is with all this change that's talked about, it's kind of like that piece of shit Roger Goodell, right? He cares about player safety, yet he's scheduling games on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday now. I mean, this piece of shit and those pieces of shit owners can sit here and give us lip service all day, every day. And it's exactly the opposite of whatever that comes out of that shithole that's on their head. And this is where my anger comes from in things in life. Because the amount of garbage that we're constantly being fed and people keep eating it and they don't say anything about it. And then I have to get on some Laker channel and sometimes blurt it out. And then I can't get too far on it because then all of a sudden somebody starts saying, well, we don't discuss those things here. And I'm like, I'm trying to talk about people's lives and our enjoyment. They even got to the sports with all this garbage. We have to deal with it in sports. We can't just escape with sports anymore. Now we have to hear the same shit with this stuff. So, yeah. By the way, folks, you have my full support handling the chat room. I will do any shot, however many shots you want, if you get rid of the nuisance. Because I'm done. And I'm not doing it. I'm not that guy. I'm a firm believer in allowing the people to speak. Even if it's something I don't like or I like, doesn't matter. Handle it.
That's correct, cool bro. The Pacific Division winner does not get a guaranteed spot in the playoffs. They, at best, at worst, they could probably get a play-in spot. But then again, if they don't win the requisite amount of games in the play-in, based on where they're seated at, the Pacific Division winner could conceivably not make the playoffs. So there you go. Yep.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think the odds would be long, Joe, but yeah, it's technically possible. Again, I think the division concept I think should just go away as well. I just think it's gone passe. I think you should just, like you said, base it off of conferences, and then there you go. Makes it easier, much easier. 7 Grand says Lakers got 2 of the best players at important positions. We got a better coach than Ham, and I think we'll be better than last year. 7, you're very positive.
Hold on. No. Hold on.
What?
Say that again.
He said the Lakers got 2 of the best players at important positions.
Okay.
We got a better coach than Ham.
Says who? Based off what? Because he wears his suit nice? Because he speaks a certain way? Folks, JJ Redick has never coached ever in anything relevant. And you're all sitting here talking about Anthony Edwards, yapping about 90s players. This asshole was the first one that did it, 6 months ago?
Yep.
So which one is it, folks? You can't have selective hearing. That's another thing I don't like about people. Selective hearing. You'll ignore what certain people say because you like them, and then you'll you'll use the bullhorn on those you don't like.
Wasn't it the firemen and plumbers comment that he made? I think something relating to that. I'm paraphrasing here, but it was
that, and the fact that he also said that the 90s were watered down.
He says, we don't know about Redick, but anyone could coach better than Ham. Ham did make his mistakes, but again, I have to see how Redick is before we evaluate.
We're going to find out.
Coach, he can be.
We're going to find out. We're going to find out. Here's what has to happen. JJ Redick is going to have to tap into some of these players mentally into doing things they don't normally do. That's going to be interesting, especially considering your leader on the team is LeBron James. LeBron James has played. This will be his 22nd season in the NBA. He's played for 11 coaches. Now, he had a stint in Miami where he had 1 coach. So that statistic is actually really bad, considering that he went 4 years with the same coach, yet he still had, on the average, a new coach every other year. What does that tell you, folks? As great as LeBron is, wherever he stands in the annals of the NBA, I didn't make a mistake when I said it that way, by the way.
Oh, yeah. It's supposed to be annals, but
yes,
annals. I know what you meant.
Yes. His issues with leadership around him has cost him more than y'all really think. It's cost him titles. It's cost him wins that I believe would have propelled him even further. How much is enough? I know everybody's fixated. Well, he scored 40,000 points. He's gotten the stats. Look, anyone that plays for 22 years is going to have the stats. And there is some patting on the back on that. I'm not saying that isn't an amazing feat, but there's a reason why they changed the scoring title from total points to points per game, because it's a better statistic to really knowing how good somebody is. And LeBron's expiration date is already gone. Like, he hasn't done things where it matters more in the amount of years he's played versus some of his contemporaries in the past. It's just not. What if he plays 30 years and he wins 5 championships? Is it the same as 6 championships in 15? You tell me, Gerald. What do you think?
I agree with you, Joe.
And that's something, just because you don't like something here, it doesn't mean you can't like something else with the same person over there. There's a lot of things I like about LeBron James in his game. I'd rather compete with LeBron James on the Lakers than to have Ryan Kelly, Rob Sacre, Tarek Black, and Jordan Clarkson in the starting lineup like they did in 17, 16? Trust me, I'm not that dumb. I'd rather have this. But at the same time, it's sad that so many years have been wasted because of bad decision making. And it's still being done.
Yeah.
It's still being done. It was done during the draft, and it was done during the summer. I should say nothing was done during the summer. And that right there is what I'm basing this next season at. I don't understand how anyone would think that this team is going to improve when they didn't improve. LeBron got a year older. AD got a year older. Players don't get better at that age. They don't get better, folks. LeBron's not going to play defense. So now you tell me, if LeBron doesn't play defense, Austin, D'Angelo Russell, and Rui can't really shut anybody down or play any normal defense. What is JJ Redick going to tap into mentally where that's going to make those guys play defense? Does he have some scheme that we've never seen before that he's going to implement? I'm going to wait and see. We're going to wait and see, I should say.
Seven, I do appreciate and respect your positivity and where you think the Lakers can be and go. But I know, Joe, you and I pointed this out. Both LeBron and AD, who are now over 30, and in the case of LeBron closing in on 40, both played over 70 games or 70 games and over last season. The Lakers had not one, but not two, but three of their highest volume shooters shoot over 40% from the three-point line. And still, they ended up where they ended up. And now you're asking those players to do the same thing again, plus find someone that can give them more consistent help on either end, whether it's a Jared Vanderbilt coming back to life after his injury status, whether it's Gabe Vincent being brought back up from, see if his knees are okay and he's able to produce for you this season, whether it's Dalton Connect, a lot of pressure on this rookie, but hopefully he will pan out sooner rather than later. And, to all those prognosticators and draft guys who thought he should have been higher, make them correct, but more again, sooner rather than later. For Rodell and everybody who's still infatuated with Max Christie, for him to pan out and be able to justify the contract that the Lakers bid against themselves to go ahead and sign him to. That's a lot of ifs, Joe. Or Christian Wood to miraculously rise from the dead, as he said, for vengeance and revenge this season, to come back and be a player once again in the NBA. That's a lot of ifs, Joe, to go ahead. And that's not to mention what everybody else did around them to try and improve their rosters, because with the Lakers, the only addition that they made was Dalton Connect. And no, I'm not counting Bronny James. Sorry. You're not going to get me to count Bronny James.
It's quite comical when I hear I'm sorry, Seven Grand, but that's a loser's mentality, and I'm going to prove it to you. So your justification for drafting a clown, I should say clown. He's not a clown. Useless player because no one's done anything at that pick. Is that your excuse? Because no one has ever picked anybody? Did you fall asleep the last 25 years? Manu Ginobili was picked 57th. How did his career go? Well, Joe, that was a one. Oh, really? It was one in a generation. Well, looks like we're right on time.
Isaiah Thomas was picked 60 before his hip gave out. He was a top 5 MVP player.
So I want you all to really focus on what I'm saying, because it's really bothering you that I'm telling you the truth. The truth is based off of what has happened. Results, not because I want to be right. If you think I don't want this team to win a championship, you're out of your goal. I want someone to explain to me how a Nimrod like J.J. Riddick, who insulted the Jerry West era of players, by the way, that includes Will Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Elgin Baylor, Oscar Robinson, and then insulted the greatest athlete of the 20th century by calling his decade watered down, a guy who's never coached in the NBA, all of a sudden is going to come to LA and tame one of the worst coach killers in the history of sports in LeBron James. All the while, not improving in any areas that you needed improving. The Lakers hit their shots last year. The Lakers stayed healthy last year where, in terms of Anthony Davis and LeBron James, where did it get them? The freaking play-in. Same damn place they were before. And now I'm supposed to think, well, they're going to play better, Joe, because they got J.J. Redick now. We don't have Darvin Ham. What's going to happen after that? Are you going to blame the Tooth Fairy after that? This is about talent, folks. The NBA is about talent. And right now, the Lakers don't have anyone that can freaking rebound except for one freaking guy. That's it. One. And he's been neutralized by the elite teams. So now what? Is LeBron going to start rebounding now this year because J.J. Redick's the coach? Is Max Christie going to hit open shots now because he doesn't have to side-eye Darvin Ham with his hands in his pockets? The questions are there. We're going to see what the answers are. God help you all if the Lakers are 10-13 coming out the gate. God help you all. Because if you think I'm bad now, your Genie and the Rob Pelinkas and all these assholes are going to get it even worse than I've been giving it this summer. Because I'm tired. I'm tired of this trash. I'm tired of just mediocrity. I freaking hate the fact that you have the number one basketball team that's ever existed on this planet being operated like a two-bit sideshow garbage of a team. Because you have an inept owner, a stupid GM, and a freaking star player that's dictating how to create a families matter atmosphere when we're supposed to be winning championships. All that, and I have to watch the Celtics play basketball the way I like teams to play basketball. That's the ultimate. And so I think that's probably where my anger is from. I've had to like the Celtics this year.
All I'll say is this, Joe. Again, as I tell people time and time again since it happened, 9 out of the last 10 picks at number 55 have not gotten a second contract. Only one. I think it's Wiggins in Oklahoma City. So the odds are severely against Bronny from succeeding in the NBA. It's like a one contract and done type deal. I will say this. If there's anybody that succeeds in the NBA that was picked later or was undrafted in the NBA in this draft that succeeds in the NBA, then you're going to hear about it from us. You're going to hear about it loud and clear from us. You're going to hear about it continually from us about how the Lakers prioritized Bronny and that experiment as opposed to someone who could have helped the Lakers more. But again, we don't know that, so we'll have to wait and see how this pans out. But yeah, the odds of Bronny James being a contributor in the NBA are very, very long, Joe. Very long.
It's just no. There are times I get off air and I'm, God, man, I can't even listen to the show afterwards because I can't even stand listening to myself. But it comes from a legitimate place. It's not coming from fluff. It's not coming from trying to create friction so that I can get more attention. This is coming from irritation. We talked Sunday, brought up the Dodgers winning the World Series, and I've worn out Empire Jeff a little bit on this. I could feel it in his text messages sometimes because he's so positive. But, Bobby Miller came out today to pitch, and my first instinct was, oh, shit, right? Like before the game even started.
Angels played T-ball today.
And Angels looked like the freaking 98 Yankees today. For the first time. They scored 5 runs in the first inning for the first time all year.
Yep.
Okay? Out of all the games to do this, it had to be against the Dodgers. Why? Because you have a stupid manager with terrible decision-making. All in the name of, well, they're trying to get to the playoffs. It's always an excuse. It's always an excuse. Folks, if you go ask the greats where they became great, you know where they became great? They became great in practice. They became great in game 77, game 62, game 114. And it's for some reason no one gets it because no one knows greatness. No one gets it. And unfortunately, I've never had the athleticism to have a chance to do any of that. But when you study the Kobe Bryants, the Michael Jordans, the Barry Bonds, even before his steroid situation, you see about what these guys did, and it's different. And maybe I'm asking too much. Those guys are 1 in a billion type people, but I would like to think that if you're in a position where you're the LA Lakers or the Dodgers and you have an abundance of resources and you have every bit of notoriety that you've built, how do you not continue to use that instead of degrading it? It's just sad.
We'll see what happens, my friend. But again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. Joe Soroff as Oxide247 at LakersBall.com. And of course, also as well, SimBlades, the company he owns. If you are in the Southern California area and you need a new lawn transformed into something much more magical than it is today, give Joe a call at SimBlades. SimBlades with a Y.com. But Joe, good show. See if we could go ahead and pop back on Thursday or Friday. See if we can muster up another topic to.
I will be unavailable, unfortunately, the rest of the week.
Oh,
and
really?
I will be in Arizona for weddings and stuff.
Okay, I'll see if I can procure someone else. I know John Costa might be coming on.
I could be available Sunday night, but this weekend is going to be celebration time.
Okay.
I mean, I could chime in on the chats.
Okay.
I'm still mobile right now, which is why I'm not showing my face.
Are you able to take a drink though for Darren before we head on out?
I
don't want you to drink and drive. So
I'd rather do it. I'd rather do it when you can see me, so you can know that I'm doing it. So I'm feeling pretty comfortable that should I get back early Sunday, I'd probably be able to. I'll be I'll be in my chambers, if you will.
Okay.
And I will be showing my face, and I will take a drink, and I will take a drink for some other things as well.
Well, Tim Scott said something that might draw your ire before heaven. But Tim, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Tim says, stop with this BS. I didn't even know we were talking about it, but okay. LeBron will always be ranked above Kobe. Kobe is not even top 10.
Sure, Tim. How old are you? 14?
Again, that's always the debate, always the stuff that goes on. Kobe, LeBron, MJ, all the stuff as far as the concern, it is what it is. Joe and I have seen through the decades plenty of each of these players, and yeah, they're 3 of the all-time greats. I'll just leave it at that.
Sorry, I don't really take anybody seriously. There's the 2 greatest players I ever saw in my life was Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. and
Right.
the most skilled, the most venomous, the most focused, just the kind of players that could take you anywhere. And Kobe's circumstances are different than all those guys too. He didn't come in ready-made. He didn't even play the first 3 years in a full season. One was because Del Harris didn't want to play him as a rookie. Second year, managed to make an all-star team being a six-man. Should have won six-man of the year that year too. Gave it to freaking Danny Manning. And then 99 was the lockout season. And then the first full 82-game season he was starting, they ended up winning a championship. Say he bailed out Shaq in that overtime game in Indiana on one leg when there is documented that Jalen Rose tried to take him out. Sacramento, after game one, got food poisoning. I mean, opinions are opinions, but you're gonna have to give me more than that. You're gonna have to give me more than Kobe isn't even in the top 10. Okay, where'd you go? You made one comment, then you bounced. Because you don't really have an argument. You're just yapping. And then, of course, if you start yapping on the chat, then I'm going to tell you to get on the show.
And we see how that works out. Only
and
one.
I'll tell you right now, every guy we've asked to come on the show, donuts.
Except for one. Kenneth. Kenneth has been great. And you turned him. He hated you to start off with, and now he loves you.
Kenneth thought I had a different agenda in my discussions. And that's what happens when I discuss LeBron James in a certain way. People think that I'm talking about something else. All of the NBA media, oh, you mean 90% of the people in Ohio that the NBA workers come from? Of course they're going to pick LeBron. That's why Kobe only has one MVP, because of those assholes and those assholes up in the Northeast. We know how it works. They did it to Shaq. They did it to Kobe. What else he got?
He did come back on, though. Yeah.
My question is, for your life, who do you pick to win on a last-second shot, LeBron or Kobe Bryant?
Well, there's an ESPN roundtable. It is kind of dated, but it's right there. But
Pat Riley has a really good one. I still like it. He goes, if I needed to win a game, I'd pick Michael Jordan. If I needed someone to save my life, I'd pick Larry Bird. I thought that was one of the best quotes ever.
Tim is actually a big fan of LeBron, so we'll see how LeBron is. Again, a lot has to go right for Seven's predictions to come true, and I don't know if that's going to be the case, but can they win the Pacific Division? Maybe, but will the Pacific Division winner even be in the top 5 in the Western Conference? That is another story indeed. But yes, rest in peace, Concord. And if you have a copy out there, never know, might be valuable. There you go. But
Super Bowl
PlayStation
predictions. That's a good one, Sunday. I'm going to go out on a limb and go with KC and the surprise participant. Drum roll, please. The Detroit Lions.
Knew you were going to say that.
And they're going to get smacked by the KC. They're going to get smacked by KC, too.
I'm going to say the Bills and the Lions.
No.
Oh, I see you say no. I say, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm going to say the Chiefs are good, but
I think the Bills are going to hit a skid again, and then McDermott's going to get fired, and Ben Johnson will be the head coach of the Bills.
You said that the other day.
Yeah,
we'll
that's
see.
my prediction.
Or Allen could be the MVP. We'll see.
That's good.
Good. But I noticed you're not even close to picking the Pittsburgh Steelers. So,
no, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers have to be working on a tank at this point. They need a quarterback, and their schedule the last 8 games is horrendous. I'm still trying to figure out who the hell scheduled that.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, it's been a fun time talking about basketball. Tomorrow, it is the NFL. Again, if you want some extra thoughts, if you're doing a last-minute draft and also week 1 predictions, Joe Soro and I, and also the Lardieris from Domination Sports Nation, Chris and Dom, we did an episode. It's on this channel on YouTube, but it's also on Inside Sports Fantasy Football as well. So go ahead and check it out today, wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, if you've not yet liked and subscribed, please do so. Tim says Goat James will make his 21st All-NBA selection next year. Well, he has to. For the Lakers to be anywhere competitive at or near the top of the Western Conference, that has to happen.
No one gives a shit about first team NBA or All-Stars or points. The question in the end is going to be, why did LeBron James only win 4 championships in what will probably be 23 seasons in the NBA at the very least?
Well, on that note,
that's 19 seasons, folks. 19 seasons where he didn't win the championship. That's a lot. Now, I'm not expecting him to win every year, but LeBron should have 6 or 7 right now. Just saying. If you're telling me he's the greatest of all time, he should be sitting at 6 or 7. But he's sitting at 4. And a lot of those problems was because of him. If you want to keep it real.
Actually, somebody triple dub just came in. Thank you for joining. Please like and subscribe. He said the Lakers are awful, and it's because he's the problem.
He is one of the problems. And again, it's important to understand, folks, it's very similar to a parent and a child. If you let the child dictate terms as the adult, it's your fault. A child doesn't know any better. A child is a child for a reason. A child should never make the calls when there are adults in the room. Now, you consider an opinion, you consider a discussion with your children. I'm not saying you shun them, but real life, real decisions is an adult thing, not a child thing. And I can go into a whole different stratosphere on that one. And I'm going to win that. I'll win that all day. That you have zero chance at winning on that one. Because I got the receipts in the other room. And you'll see them get larger like the CVS receipts in the next 10 years.
And on that note, it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching and listening. Truly appreciate it. We're here over 300 days a year. 300, well, at least 300 shows a year. So hopefully you'll be able to be a part of it. Again, big shout out to our members, only $2.99 a month. Xbox, of course, we've got so many great members right now, including Xbox, Bloodhound, Richard, and Sports Baby, all greatly appreciated. And again, if you want to go ahead and get access to those special emojis, badges, and also big shout outs from me, $2.99 a month indeed. But it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. Joe, you're off to go and party. So before you do, any last thoughts before we head on out?
Last thoughts is we're a month away from things starting to happen.
Training camp.
And we were very positive last year. I remember. We were excited.
We were.
And it's complete 180 now.
With virtually the same roster, Joe.
I'm gonna see what transpires here.
Prince for Connect. That's it. Same roster.
Yeah. And then you signed a player who hasn't shown anything for a lot of money. We're going to find out, folks. We're going to find out. And that's all I got to say right now.
And
that's all I got to say about that.
All you got to say about that. But it is, of course, Joe Soro, Oxide247 at LakersBall.com, and Simblades, SimBladesWithAY.com. I will try to make more shows during the interim while Joe is away. Or if not, John Costa, I'll check to see if he's got something planned. The Lakerholics got something planned. We'll always have something on tap for you. We'll go ahead and make sure we've got some type of shows in the interim while Joe is away. And make sure you get your fix, your regular fix of Lakers talk that no one else does better than right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.